What's up guys, today we're going to be going over a hidden perk, mechanic, buff, something, I'm not quite exactly sure what to call it. It's pretty much a perk though, that is built into the Stasis subclass that you probably haven't caught onto because it doesn't say anywhere and it just kind of happens as you play. But this hidden perk pretty much completely changes the way you'll play Stasis and makes the builds way stronger than they already were. Also in this video, we will be going over the new Warlock aspect and making a build with Vesper Radius. So let's go ahead and begin with the hidden perk. So if you see, we have no aspects and no fragments on, and we have no demo, no wellspring, anything like that. If we go ahead and freeze enemies and shoot at them, nothing special really happens as you expect. We just kill the enemy that's frozen and they shatter. But if you put on this fragment right here, which is going to be Whisper of Fissures, and what this one says it does is increases the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. And it does all that stuff I mentioned really well, but on top of that, what it does is every single time you shatter an enemy, you also get a chunk of your grenade back. And this is a completely hidden perk to this fragment, and as you see, I pretty much get my grenade in like 6 kills against frozen targets. And the way this works is it's not only frozen targets from your grenade, any way you can shatter an enemy will work. So if that's your melee, if that's glacier grenades, whatever it is, it will all work the exact same way. So every single time you shatter an enemy, you get grenade back, and this will be based off your grenade recharge rate, so your discipline stat. If you have 100 discipline or tier 10, you'll be getting your grenade back so fast with this fragment perk. And it's pretty much like having Demolitionist built into the subclass itself. Then on top of that, if you shatter the enemies with Wellspring or a Demolitionist weapon, this hidden perk alone is pretty much a full build in itself. Like, I'm getting my grenade back every 5 kills with 100 discipline. Like, that is actually crazy. And this combo works on all the characters, so anytime you're on any character with Whisper of Fissures, it will work and give you a grenade back. And like I mentioned, it's based on your discipline stat, and that's why I'm getting less on my Hunter and Titan, because my discipline is not tier 10. And like I mentioned, it's anytime you shatter an enemy, so that works with the Glacier Grenade. So when you throw the grenade and create these stasis crystals, if you destroy the crystals themselves, they will shatter nearby enemies, and that will give you the chunks of grenade energy. Then you can also pair that with Whisper of Shards, which is whenever you shatter a stasis crystal, you will get the regeneration buff for your grenade for 10 seconds. So you can throw down a grenade, every single enemy you kill with the shatter will give you a chunk. Then you'll also get the improved ability regeneration for 10 seconds, and before you know it, you will have your Glacier Grenade back. So with this hidden fragment perk, you pretty much have infinite grenades of your choice on stasis, and on top of that, there is also a way to have infinite class abilities, and that's to be the Whisper of Refraction. Defeating slowed or frozen targets grants you class ability energy. So if we pair that with the Whisper of Fissures, if we put down our class ability and we get kills against frozen enemies, we pretty much get our class ability and our grenade back in like 5 or 6 kills. So we have infinite class abilities and infinite grenades. So the only thing left we really need to have infinite of all of our abilities just built into the subclass itself is our melee. And unfortunately, if you're not playing Titan, there's no fragments or aspects that helps with that. So for our melee, we'll have to use mods, and that'll be heavy-handed, which will give us half of our melee charge back when we use it. All you need is a way to become chargeable light for this to work. Then the second mod will be outreach on your class item, and this one will reduce melee cooldown when you use your class ability, and we can actually stack 2 of those at once. So with this combo, when we become chargeable light, we can use our melee and get half back instantly. Then we place our rift, we will get another like 30% back, so we almost have our entire melee. So with just 2 mods and the built-in perks on the subclass itself, Stasis can get infinite of pretty much all of your abilities. And once you know this information and you kind of play around it, you can kind of chain it very easily and have all of your abilities up at all times. Obviously this will work the best on Warlock because of the way that all of your abilities freeze and chain freeze. So if we look at a build to take advantage of all this knowledge, and looking at the new aspect on Warlock, the Frost Pulse, which we've shown off a lot throughout the video, that is whenever you place your rift, you will freeze the nearby enemies, and the radius is pretty good. You can kind of visually see what the radius is, and it'll freeze all those enemies in that radius. Then when it's paired with the fragment that gives you your class ability back on frozen kills, you can see you can chain that very quickly. And we pair that with the Vesper Radius, which will do 2 things. Rifts release an arc shockwave when cast. Rift energy recharges faster when you're surrounded by enemies. So the first part of this exotic is whenever we place a rift, it will freeze them, then instantly kill them with the arc shockwave, which will give us energy back because of the fragment perk. So pretty much just putting down the rift itself can kill everything and then pretty much give us our entire rift back instantly, as long as you kill enough enemies. And the second part is when you're surrounded by 3 or more enemies, the recharge rate of the class ability itself will be a lot quicker, and this will also be determined by your recovery stats. So tier 10 recovery will mean the fastest rift recharge rate. And with just this alone, we can pretty much infinitely chain our class ability as long as we get enough kills. Then if we use our Cold Snap Grenade to freeze more enemies, pretty much the flow of this build is you use your Rift, then you use your Grenade back and forth, then getting frozen kills will recharge both of them, and every single time you get 5 or 6 kills, you have both of them fully charged again, so it's very easy to combo back and forth. And finishing out the build with the weapons, we're using the High Albedo with Willspring, Deafening Whisper with Willspring, then finally our heavy weapon will be the Lament, which will be useful for all the boss fights and things like that. Overall, 2 Willspring weapons to help get all of our abilities back very quickly. Then we'll be using Charge Harvester, which will allow us to become a Charge of Light whenever we're doing pretty much anything. So using a Rift, using a Grenade, anything will eventually get us 1 stack of Charge of Light. Then with that stack of Charge of Light, we're going to be using Firepower times 4, which means every single time we throw our grenade, we will get a chunk of it back right away. And on top of that, we'll be using Double Bomber, which is when we place a Rift, we'll get another chunk of our grenade back instantly. Then finishing out with the fragments, we have Fissures, which is the one with the hidden perk we've been talking about in the video. Then Hedrons, which is going to be the 25% damage buff after you freeze an enemy. Then we have Refraction, which will give us the class ability back. Then finally Bonds, which will help us get our super very quickly when we kill frozen enemies. So pretty much the whole point of this build is you have infinite rifts, and when you place those rifts, you will instantly freeze and shatter all the enemies nearby because of Vesper Radius. And we also have infinite Cold Snap Grenades, and pretty much all of our freeze abilities will obviously chain to nearby enemies because of the first aspect we unlocked. And every single time we kill a frozen target, a lot of things will happen for us. One, we'll get a chunk of our grenade and class ability back because of the 2 fragment perks. Then we'll get a 25% increase to weapon damage because of our 3rd fragment, and that will not stack with other buffs like Weapons of Light, but it will pretty much just be like a rampage for all of our weapons for ad clear. And finally, the last thing that will happen when we kill frozen targets is we'll get a huge chunk of our super back. As you'll see in some of the gameplay, for example, the beginning part of Warden of Nothing, I get my entire super in like 10 seconds. It's pretty silly. Then to finish out the build, we have 2 Willspring weapons along with Lament, which will help us get our abilities back even quicker. But really, you can use whatever weapons you want. The Wellspring ones just kind of make it even better, but you don't really need them. Like, you get both your class ability and your grenade in like 6 kills against frozen enemies, and with the way the aspect works on Warlock, that will chain the freezing effect to more and more enemies. You don't really need Wellspring. I generally like the sidearm and GL anyways, so it just kind of adds to the build and makes it a little bit better. Anyways, I think that's gonna be it for the build itself. This is definitely my favorite build right now to use. I'm probably going to use it for quite some time until I eventually stumble into something that's better. But it's going to be hard to beat this because you pretty much have infinite abilities and just freeze and shatter everything left and right. And you can kind of take over ad clear the same way as like a Warmind Soul, but with stasis. Anyways, that's going to be it for the commentary. The rest of the video will just be some strike gameplay. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.